Right, boys, this is the EFL League One Week 1 Roundup, where we go through every game and I give my opinion on it. This is the first time I've done this, so if you do like it, please leave a like and subscribe if you're new. So yeah, let's just get back into it. So, starting off with the first early kickoff was Notts County versus Leicester. Now, I've not really got much to say on this. I actually watched this game live. This was one of the early kickoffs that I watched live, and I was fucking bored, okay? As predicted, because it was Russell Martin football, and it's boring. But from a Notts County point of view, I thought they played really, really well. I thought, first 20 minutes or so, they came out the blocks flying. I thought to be honest, they really could have scored a few. They hit the bar. They had chances. Obviously didn't take them, unfortunately, but they did have the opportunities, and Leicester looked rattled. The defence looked shaky. Alex McCarthy looked shaky. So Notts County as a whole, I thought, played well in the game. Naturally, when your opponents hold 70% possession, the momentum graphs don't go in your favour, to be quite frank. So as you can see, Leicester did start to control the game around the 20th minute mark, and then continued to control the game up until about the 40th minute, where Notts County ended up coming back into it. Now, if you take a look at the stats of the first half, you can see they're pretty even, really, but in my opinion, they are leaning more towards Notts County. Obviously, they had the big chance that they missed, and they hit the bar as well. So I think Leicester were lucky to go in at half time at 0-0. Now, my biggest problem with Leicester under Russell Martin is the obsession with sideways and backwards passing. It's an obsession. It's something that we saw a lot with Southampton. It's something we saw a lot with Rangers. It's just a constant sideways, backwards passing, and it's so mind-numbing to watch. Now, I'm not a Leicester fan, right? And I think he will be a good gaffer in this division, I do. But I really don't rate him very highly at all. I thought he was shit at MK Dons. I thought he was shit at Swansea. I thought he was shit at... He did alright at Southampton. I thought he was shit at Rangers. And now I think he'll be alright at Leicester in League One, to be honest, because they've got one of the better sides in the division. I think he probably will be alright. But like I said, one of my biggest problems with Russell Martin is his obsession with sideways and backwards passing. Now, it was this point here, and I was really fucking pissed off here, because I was watching it. It was just after the Notts County goal, when Leicester started to dominate again towards the back end of the game. They've got Harry Souttar and Caleb Okoli on the pitch, yet they don't lob any of them into the box, right? They have Tom Watson on one wing. They had someone else on the other. I can't remember who got brought on. I don't know if Will Alves was still on the pitch at this point. I don't know. Let's take a look. Alright, Harry Howland. Right? They had them two on the pitch. Get the ball in the fucking box. It's the 92nd minute, and you sat there. Harry Souttar's passing the ball along the back line to fucking Caleb Okoli. Now, I know I've not talked much about Notts County on this point, but I think it's really important that I speak about Leicester and I speak about Russell Martin, because I thought they was seriously underwhelming yesterday, and I think Notts County Leicester fans and everybody else that watched that game will completely agree with me. So that's my view on Leicester City and Notts County and Russell Martin, to be fair. So yeah, moving on to the next early kickoff, and this was obviously one of the better early kickoff games, where it finished fucking 2-2. Now, I like the look of both of these sides, to be honest. I really, really do. Now, obviously, Oxford are under that registration embargo at the minute. I don't know when that's going to get lifted, but I think they've got a manager in Aaron Ramsey that it's sort of like a free hit for him, because if he fails at Oxford, they can turn around and say, well, it's his first job and he's been sort of given a hard hand, but if he does well at Oxford, his stock rises. Now, I'm not saying that's obviously not my main point of this game, of course it's not, but they've kept, my main point is, you look at this Oxford team, it's pretty decent, Obviously, they've got Cameron Brannigan, one of the better midfielders in the division. Really like him, and he's not going to be one of the players that are going to leave. I think Dakaya Schmack is going to end up leaving. He didn't start today. They've got, is that Brodie Spencer at right back? I think it is. Yeah, Brodie Spencer at right back, who I really like. They've got Kieran Brown. They've got Long in midfield. They've got Tyler Goodrum and Mark Harris. Mark Harris obviously being really good for them in the last promotion campaign. So they've got a really decent squad. Now let's just take a look at the bench. They've got Gatlin O'Donker, Peter Kyoso, Misanga. Let's take a look. Louis Sibley, that's okay, but they got Michael Hellick as well, and I really like him. I think he's one of the better defenders in the division. I can't understand why he didn't start, to be fair. It's probably a case of he might be off as well. I think he was ridiculous at Barnsley, and I think he's been good for Oxford as well. So yeah, I think Oxford will be alright. I think a lot of people are putting them further down the division just because of this registration embargo they've got, but I think people need a bit of perspective, and you look at that team and it is a pretty good team. I don't have them finishing the playoffs at all, but I think it'll be closer to mid-table than I do relegation. Moving on to MK Dons, they've got a good gaffer for this division in Paul Warne. I was really surprised when he dropped to League 2 with MK Dons the other year. Got them promoted, and this is a typical Paul Warne performance. You know, the less possession, higher expected goals, and you know, it was clear they was just hitting on the transition for the majority of the game. Charlie Good's goal was really good. I really liked that, the ball into the back post. Charlie Good tried to just nod it across, and it went over the goalkeeper, Jamie Cumming, and headed into the back of the net by the defender. I think it was Long. And then Aaron Collins, again, Ryan Wintle, who were a great pickup at this level, running down the wing, whips it into the back post, and Aaron Collins with a tap in as well. This MK Dons team's really excited. I like a lot of these players. Aaron Collins, I think, is a really, really great signing. Obviously, he was there. He's been there for a few years now. Did really well in League 2 last season. So I do like Aaron Collins. He was one that I wanted Wednesday to take a look at a few years ago. Ryan Wintle's a ridiculous signing. I'm really surprised he went to MK Dons, if I'm totally honest with you. No offence. Ben Wiles and Dan Balleza in midfield. I don't know what's up with me this morning. Dan Balleza, but right, whatever. Dan Balleza in midfield. I like him as well. Sam Nombi up top that they've just signed from Rotherham. Charlie Good as well that they've just signed. So it's a really, really good team. I like it. Cohen Bramall at left back. I like it. You know. They've obviously got utility man Callum Patterson that I love dearly. So I think MK Dons are in for a good season. Now, obviously, Oxford ended up getting that goal in the last minute with Kieran Brown. So I think Aaron Ramsey will be relatively happy with that. I think MK Dons will probably be the ones that will be a bit more upset about that, considering that, you know, I think they put in a great defensive performance for the majority of the game. But that's just the way it is. Moving on to the next early kick-off, and this one was even more fucking ridiculous. Like, why do I miss all the good games? My dad were making that point to me earlier, and I felt like I was being a bit of a dick, because the fucking red button won't work, so I couldn't even put this shit on. So I was stuck watching Russell Martin ball. Reading 3, Luton 4. We've got a lot to dive into here. First of all, Liam Richardson, I'm not a fan of. Reading, I'm not keen. I'm telling you now, not keen at all. I think he was at Rotherham as well, weren't it? I didn't like him at Rotherham either. We beat him. Danny Roll's first game. This was like when we nearly went down the first time and we had Cisco. I think that was Danny Roll's first win at Hillsborough against the Liam Richardson Rotherham side, and they were dreadful. They were genuinely terrible. But yeah, Jack Marriott scored a first half hat-trick, which I was seriously surprised to see, considering he was shit at Wednesday as well. I'm starting to see a theme, and we're going to go on to this in later in the video. A lot of the players that starting for these League 1 teams were shit for Wednesday. Also, Lewis Wing, shit for Wednesday, but one of the best midfielders in the division. Sound, mate. But yeah, I'm not going to speak too much on Reading in this segment. I really want to focus more on Luton. Karius Lisby's a great signing from Colchester. I'm really a big fan of that. Randall Williams a good signing as well. Jacob Brown. They've got some really decent players. Paddy Lane obviously did really well with Portsmouth as well. Charlie Savage, that's quite a high potential player in this division. So they have got a decent squad. But I just think Liam Richardson's just not going to get the best out of this squad, in my opinion. I just don't rate him that highly. But Luton, on the other hand, I have got as my league winners. They started out pretty similar to Plymouth last season in terms of, like, they have Jack Wilshere, they had Tom Cleverley, Plymouth, and they sort of both started out pretty poorly. Obviously, Plymouth were bottom of the league, Luton weren't. but they both made a run towards the back end of the season and nearly made the playoffs. Now I think this will be Luton's year in terms of going back up. I think, you look at the quality of side they've got, the football they play, they're a really entertaining side, and I think they're going to be ones to watch this year, definitely. They've just brought in Casey Palmer, obviously scoring 2 goals, really good signing for the level. I'd be really happy with that as a Luton Town fan. They've got, I think they've still got Isaiah Jones, which is good for League One. They've got Naki Wells as well, Harrison Ashby. They've got Mads Anderson still, who were a beast in this division with Barnsley the last time out. They've got obviously Liam Walsh in midfield. They've got some really, really nice players, and I think they'll be in and around the top 2 this season for the majority of it. I do really rate Jack Wilshere, I do. You often see a bunch of these like retired midfielders that were just average. I'm not saying Jack Wilshere were average, because he's not. He played top level Premier League football, but you see a lot of these types of players go into management and they really struggle. But I think Jack Wilshere will actually have a really successful management career. Moving on to Barnsley versus Bromley. Wow, what a game to cover. I'm gutted I missed this one, because again I was too busy watching Russell Martin ball, but it was Daniel Stendhal's first game as Barnsley gaffer. I think regardless of what happens in this video, and regardless of what I say, what we need to remember is it's the first game of football on week 1, and anything can happen. And just because you lose this game and just because you win this game, it doesn't mean you're going to win the league. It doesn't mean you're going to go down. I don't think Barnsley will be anywhere near the relegation zone personally. I do have them in mid-table, but yeah, Barnsley 0, Bromley 1. Barnsley absolutely romped Bromley, absolutely romped them, but it's a typical Bromley performance. I really like the look of a few of Bromley's players. They've got Sawumni at centre half, who I think won't be there for much longer. I think he'll be a really good pickup for any League One side or any side, any Championship side even. To be honest, I really like him. They've got Michael Cheek up front, Victor Odobiejo as well, who was here in this division with Bolton, I believe. They've got some really nice players. Obviously, they got promoted last season. One of the teams that's come up. But yeah, my concern surrounding Barnsley is more the fact that I don't think they've got the players at the minute to play Daniel Stendhal's system. Now, these stats say otherwise, but I genuinely just don't think they have. I think Reyes Cleary is obviously such a great player, but I think if you're selling for 3 or 4 million quid, maybe even 5, I think that money has to get reinvested in this squad, because in my opinion, this squad is really, really poor. I'm not a fan of it. Noslin's a good signing. Cameron McGeehan I really like as well. Josh Earl I really like. Luke Connell's okay as well. I think he's dropped off since the last time we was in this division. But then you just take a look at the bench. They've got Kieran Flavell, who's a young keeper, Jack Shepherd, who's alright, Corey O'Keefe, who's meh at this level. It's just not good. It's not good at all. I think what you need to do and hope for, Barnsley fans, despite Cleary being such a good player, is to sell Cleary and then replace a few of these players in this division with the money that you've got for Cleary. So, yeah, I think, it is. Like I said, it's the first game of the season. I think you need to be patient, because it's going to take a while. I think it's a completely different style compared to what Barnsley fans are used to over the last few years. They're used to sort of the passing sideways and backwards type of football, and now the front-footed, high pressing, different type of football. So it's going to take a bit of getting used to for Barnsley players and fans as well. Obviously, Daniel Stendhal were there last time as well. A few years ago. So yeah, Blackpool versus Wycombe Wanderers. My nose is really itchy again. I don't know why it keeps doing this while I'm recording. It's really pissing me off. Blackpool, Ian Everett, he's in the same boat for me as Russell Martin. I think he was at Bolton for a number of years playing the same fucking boring sideways backwards fucking possession based football. It was shit. It's boring. Alright, just get the ball up the pitch quickly. And they didn't get promoted under him. And then, so believe it or not, as soon as he goes, Steven Schumacher comes in, they get promoted. So what's that tell you? Listen, I think they've got a good team, Blackpool. They did last season. I thought they had some really good players. They obviously sold Ashley Fletcher to Huddersfield this summer, which I think is... I think he scored 23 or 24 goals last season, something along them lines. And now you've got to replace them 23 and 24 goals. Personally, I don't think you have. I don't think you've replaced them at all. They've got some decent players in there. I like Josh Bowler. I like George Honeyman as well. Peacock Farrell, another one that was a bit meh for Wednesday. I thought he were all right. They've got CJ Hamilton. Is that CJ Hamilton? I think it is. Yeah, CJ Hamilton. But then you go down onto the bench, and there's a familiar face there. Albie Morgan I like as well, to be fair. Dion Charles. So they brought in Dion Charles from Huddersfield on loan. Now, in my opinion, this might be wrong, but in my opinion, Dion Charles isn't the same player as what he were at Bolton a few years ago. He's not. His move to Huddersfield hasn't worked out, and if Huddersfield are loaning him out to not to a relegation rival, to a League One rival, I think that says more about where Huddersfield view him in the plans. I think they're hoping that Ian Evatt can get the best out of Dion Charles like he did at Bolton. Personally, I don't really see it. I think, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Ian Evatt. I think his football's boring, but I think he might get the best out of Dion Charles. Wycombe on the other hand, Michael Duff, really good manager for the division. Liked him at Barnsley. And I like this Wycombe team, I like it. Fred Onyedinma's still there after about 140 years. Aaron Morley playing in the 10. Obviously, I liked him at Bolton as well. I thought he was a good player at Bolton. Emre Tesgol, they brought in Connor Hazard as well. That obviously was at Plymouth, and I really rated him highly. So I like that team. It's a good team. I don't think they'll be in and around the playoff places. I think it'll be a bit hit and miss this season for them. I think it'll probably be around mid-table. Moving on to the next game, Bradford versus Peterborough. Now, this is... I actually recorded this video yesterday, but then the footage corrupted. But I just want to get straight on to the point I was making yesterday. Darren McAntony is an absolute psychopath. The Peterborough United owner. He's crazy. I think I'm blocked on Twitter for talking about Hillsborough when they went to Hillsborough and got romped. But yeah, I just want to point out one situation when looking at this team, and that's why the age category's on here. Right, this is Peterborough United starting 11. 28, 20, 27, 22, 21, 24, 20, 21, 22, 21, 17, right? Which is mental. Okay, that is mental. You cannot go into a League One season with like 8 out of the 11 under 24. You can't, because like the experience that them players haven't got in this division is priceless, right? So when you're going to a place like Valley Parade and it is rocking, if you've got a bunch of kids on the team, which essentially these are, they're all like 20, 21, 22. Essentially the kids, they might be seniors, but they're still pretty much kids, right? They might be professionals, sorry, but they're still pretty much kids. At the end of the day, and they're 21, 22, if they go to Valley Parade or go to Hillsborough and it's rocking, they're going to shit themselves. They've not got an experienced head alongside them to sit them down and say, hang on a minute, we need to calm down here. Yeah, they've got Alex Bass in goal, who's 28. They've got, is that Paddy O'Connor? No, Thomas O'Connor at centre-back, who's 27. But the rest of them are pretty relatively young. I really like Brandon Keller in midfield. I like him. He's a great player. Harry Leonard as well up top. I do like him. He's a good signing. But then you look at Bradford's team. Look at the average ages of Bradford's teams. Matthew Pennington, 31. There's Anthony Sarcevic that has done it in this division for such a long time, 34. Caden Jackson, 32. Like, you just look at the experience and you just think, well, there's no wonder. Surely Peterborough have to be the youngest side in the division. They have to be. Obviously, they've not got Darren Ferguson anymore. They've got Luke Williams, who I really like. I think he's a decent manager. I think he's a good manager for the level, but Peterborough, they need to stop doing this thing where they're going for young players all the time with resale value. Yes, that's a good method to follow, right? But not when 8 of your 11 are under 24. That's not good. That is not good. Not in League One, because it can suck you in. So I have Peterborough finishing near the bottom this season. Burton, Albion versus Stevenage. I'm just going to quickly go over these because I'm not right fussed. I didn't watch this game. I think Burton Albion for me are one of the ones that will end up going down, unfortunately. I like the Pirelli Stadium being before. It's really nice. Stevenage, I don't think they'll do as well as they did last season under Alex Ravel, to be honest. They've still got Philip Marshall, which I'm surprised about because I really like him. I think he's probably the best keeper in the division. He is very good, and I'm surprised someone like a Leicester didn't come in and sign him, and I'm surprised a team like Wednesday didn't even try and sign him. Obviously, we can't pay transfer fees anymore. Any more transfer fees, I should say. So, yeah, that's my opinion on the Burton and Stevenage game. Cambridge 3, Wigan 2. I think this is another one. Neil Harris came up with Cambridge last season. I think from a Cambridge point of view, they'd be extremely happy with that. It was a typical Neil Harris performance. Wigan played really well. They played some good football. I think the majority of them expected goals, though, it did come after half-time. I mean, look at this. It came after half-time. They woke up a bit in the second half and decided to try ramp it. But at this point, they were 3-0 down, so the game was already gone, pretty much. The game's gone. So they had to try and bring it back somehow, and they ended up putting up a bit of a fight. But I think for Cambridge, I think they'll be happy with that win, because I have them near the bottom, and I think when you're a newly promoted team, a bit like Bromley as well, you need to come into the division fighting straight away from the off, and that's what they've both done. They've ended up getting a win in the first game, and I think that's the most important thing for them sides. Moving on to the next one is Huddersfield Town 3, AFC Wimbledon 0. This bloke Fernandez looks really, really good. He looks really promising. Bad goalkeeping for the first goal, but he looks really promising. I think it probably is a bit of a gamble bringing in Martin Drury as a manager, but I think, you know, you've looked at the managers of the last few years. I think it's time to just, you know, stop complaining, basically. They've got a really nice team, Huddersfield. I like it. They brought in Ashley Fletcher, which I know a lot of fans are saying it's a good signing. I'm not a huge fan. I think he's very shit, to be honest. He had a great season at Blackpool last season. I understand that, and you're signing him off for that, and that's fine. He was shit for Wednesday in the Championship, shit for Borough in the Championship, shit for Watford in the Championship. He's been shit for the majority of his career. He's ended up at a big club like Huddersfield. So, I don't know. Joe Taylor I really like, really good striker. I think these three up front probably will cause League One defences a few problems this year. I have Huddersfield finishing quite high as well. I think they'll finish in 3rd or 4th this season. So, yeah, again, AFC Wimbledon didn't really come and cause many issues, really, did they? Moving on to Leyton Orient versus Sheffield Wednesday. Now, this one is obviously the game that I watched at 3 o'clock. First half, we were dreadful. I made a YouTube short on it yesterday. First half, we were shit. We were terrible. I presume they got a kick up the arse because they needed it. They were fucking arse. And then second half, we ended up coming out of the traps, and I'm really happy we did so. However, one change, and I did this on the YouTube short as well, one change made the difference for us, and it was when James Morris came on in the 61st minute here for Santo Boniface. Boniface had a great game yesterday. James Morris came on in the 61st minute. What happened from the 61st minute? This. So we absolute dominate Leyton Orient. James Morris then gives a penalty away. He's getting skinned left, right and centre. And then he comes off in the 73rd minute, which, believe it or not, is the point when the momentum graph switches. Yeah, 73rd minute, it's the point in the momentum graph which switches towards Leyton Orient again. Now, it could have been 4 or 5-1 Wednesday, to be fair. And you know what? Leyton Orient had chances in first half. They hit the post. They had some great opportunities, but I think we did what we needed to. We got the 3 points, and that's that. I think a lot of fans are still questioning Henrik, and that you know is understandable, but I'm just happy that we got the win. Next up, Mansfield Town versus Donny Rovers. Mansfield have got 2 of the best strikers in the division, and none of them scored yesterday I should say, in David McGoldrick and Michael Smith. Really like that front force. It's ridiculous. Reece Oates started up top instead of David McGoldrick yesterday, who again, you know, having a third striker that can also score goals is really important in this division. Takes the weight off 39-year-old David McGoldrick's legs. Not that I'm saying his legs have gone, because they're definitely not, and even if they have, the bloke could score goals even in a fucking wheelchair. So yeah, I really like the look of Mansfield. Nigel Clough's the manager, good manager for the level. Lucas Akins is still there as well. They've got some good players, man. I really do like the look of Mansfield. I don't think they'll do loads and loads this season. I think a few goals from David McGoldrick will probably push them towards the playoffs. Whether they'll get in it or not, I'm not 100%. But obviously, resource, they've got Lucas Akins still. They've got Michael Smith. That it did really well for us in the division the last time out, and David McGoldrick as well. So they've got a good team at Mansfield. Doncaster, they're under Grant McCann still. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they're going to go down. I like Grant McCann for the level. I think he's a great manager for the level. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say on Donny Rovers, to be fair. Moving on to the final game, and it was Plymouth Argyle 1, Stockport County 3. I wasn't expecting this whatsoever. Not one bit whatsoever. I was expecting Plymouth to start out with a win. I think Stockport, going into this game, they've lost Dave Challoner, they brought in Jim McNulty. They've lost Louis Barry, went back to Aston Villa, and we brought him in, thankfully. They've lost a few players here and there, but I think when there's so much of a wholesale change over the summer in terms of management change and stuff like that, I was expecting them to start slow. I had them to pick up later on towards the season, but they ended up picking up a win in a very, very good game here at Home Park. Now, to come to Home Park and win is a very difficult thing to do. It is a very difficult thing to do. And Plymouth fans might be saying, well, it's not anymore. It's completely different at Home Park to when you came down in League One and it were like a fortress. Maybe it is, right? But regardless, the travel time it gets down there, the recovery time it takes, Home Park is such a hard place to go and play football. But obviously it wasn't for Stockport County yesterday, and they came away with a win. They've obviously still got Kyle Wharton up top. They've got him up top this time instead of in centre back, which was just that was just mental. Kyle Wharton playing in the centre back. They've got Ben Osborne, which is a decent signing. Ollie Norwood, who's one of the best midfielders in the division, still at 35. They've got Lewis Bate. They got Ethan Pye, who I really like, probably one of the better centre backs in the division. Jack Diamond in almost like a 10 position, really like him as well. Now moving on to a Plymouth point of view, they lost Laurent Talay in the summer, replacing with Will Evans, which I'm not a huge fan about in terms of that signing, especially not for 500k. Yeah, he might get double figures, but you're not really replacing the goals of Laurent Talay there. Obviously, they got Bim Peppel that's having a lot of interest surrounding him, which I'm not surprised because the bloke's a goal scorer. They've got Harvey White, who's a good signing. They brought in Alex Hartridge again, who's a good signing. Murphy Cooper as well, good signing. I were hoping Wednesday would go for him, to be fair, but we didn't and lost out, and he was gone to Plymouth Argyle. He's a good age. I think Plymouth will be more than fine. I've got them finishing in the top 6 this season. Stockport, I've got them pushing towards the top 6, but I haven't got them in the top 6. So yeah, boys, let me know what you think of this type of video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a really enjoyable one for me to make, so please leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Leave your predictions down below for your team's next week's game. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.